one of our favorite guests. One of your favorite guests, definitely one of mine. And this is, I think at this stage, this is probably going to become a monthly thing, if not like a fucking weekly thing. And for anyone who's worried that maybe we have a problem, maybe the alcoholism has gone too far, Nick, would you like to take that one? How would you respond to the people who say
You
we
have a
drink?
fucking problem. Listen.
You have a fucking problem. You have a problem.
They say alcohol is for people who cannot handle reality. I say reality is for people who cannot handle alcohol. I stole that one. I can't remember the guy's fucking name, but it's pretty good. I love how we turned from, men in the streets with pepechets gunning down the whites while they're fighting for a potential beautiful revolution to, a degenerate alcoholic Slav and a Jesus-looking motherfucker drinking on a live stream and thinking this is going to do anything for the fucking movement. I mean, no, I have... It is quite good.
We are the movement. This is the revolution.
Absolutely, YouTube is the
revolution, bro.
That will crush.
Oh,
Jeff Bezos is shitting his pants right now, just thinking of us talking about this while being watched by like 100 people. Oh my god!
I had a couple of people say that they joined my party and my organization from seeing my videos. That was fucked up. I was like, what? What the fuck? Could you imagine just being like somebody who's new to the left and just appear and like this? You just follow someone. You're like, okay, mate, I'm interested. I want to get like some free healthcare for people. I want to make life better for people. And then someone's like, Actually, you need to uphold Jamie Lannister thought. You need to fuck your sister. What the fuck? How?
And it's even more ironic. It's even more ironic when it's people that are telling you, guys that wear Lenin on their T-shirt are absolutely insane. I mean, when a liberal looks at us wearing a Lenin T-shirt, he would absolutely shit his pants. That's no way to attract people to our movement. We should completely
also you should fuck your sister.
Disregard all these previous socialist experiences, and also kids fucking. When communism, we do the sexy with kids. I mean, Jesus. I mean, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah, mate. That's what's gonna. That's how to build a movement. That's how to build a socialist movement.
Maybe I'm dumb. Like, how can you in the same sentence say leftists should create a perfect image in order to attract more people, and then go on to say incest and having sex with
pedos,
underage people in communism would be allowed because actually being underage is linked to capitalism and not the fact that people will develop at certain paces in any system in a certain way. I mean, I don't know. The last time I watched Star Trek Communism, I didn't see them go to a planet and fuck 2-year-old Martians, but whatever.
What the fuck? You got me on the spot here. Are you riding with Biden? Will you be advocating that people vote for Joe?
Okay, this is going to be fun. But I think before I address Biden in any shape or form, I want to make sure I state the following. The Democratic Party has never, and most likely will never, be a moderately left, let alone fully left-wing party. The greatest contribution to history, in my opinion, from the Dems can be found in, what was his name? FDR, the US president during World War II. Someone we can kind of thank for the New Deal and the so-called Second Bill of Rights. But what Americans keep forgetting is that all of those things were presented to the US public and Congress during the Great Depression out of fear that the masses will revolt in some sort of socialist uprising. FDR managed to convince the 1% filth of that time that unless they begin to share, things are going to go as bad for them as it went for their degenerate counterparts over the Bolshevik Revolution. I mean, I don't know. It's such a profound historical irony that to a large extent FDR was able to do what he did thanks to the looming threat of a local revolution inspired by the USSR. The greatest feats of reformism and internal growth of the US in the 20th century would arguably not have happened if the Soviet Union wasn't created. I don't know about you, but that is poetical to me.
It's beautiful. Fucking gorgeous.
But yeah, but after this little rant, in order to make sure that that everything that the Dems ever did was not because of reformism, but because quite literally there was, again, a
There's no
looming threat
choice.
over the sea, and there was no choice. I guess I can jump into Biden. I guess the only eloquent point you can make to support him is it won't take you more than 30 minutes to just go and vote. And Trump is worse, so you should go and vote.
Yeah.
If that's it, sure, I'll take that pragmatist or whatever way, pragmatic approach. You're
it's
off.
utilitarian. Like it is
Utilitarian.
that. That's
I
like
agree.
if people can prove that it actually is going to do less damage to vote for him than to vote for Trump, then okay, there's an argument there. There are other people who will just say no. There's no fucking way. You know, we're kind of getting into the lesser evil. You know, lesser evilism and so on and so forth. We're jumping directly into that.
I just wanna, people don't misunderstand me with my relative approval. I just want to add that what makes my fucking insides turn and my hemorrhoids swell the fuck up is when you're telling people they can't be leftists or Marxists if they don't support the smelted brain of a fucking war criminal. Motherfuckers, since when does voting for lesser evil in a bourgeois election have anything to do with Marxism? Making slightly more or less ethical choices isn't what this ideology is about. If I don't, for example, I don't know what comes to mind, help a grandma across the street, does that make me less of a Marxist? Is my girlfriend gonna, I don't know, fucking kill me? Is my girlfriend gonna call me less of a Marxist if I choose not to fucking go down on her? What is this insane precedent that you're trying to set? By the way, go down on your girlfriends, obviously. What is this insane precedent that you're trying to set that the Marxist has to participate in every single conflict between right and wrong in the world? I mean, sure, dialectics can be applied to anything and everything, but like that doesn't mean that it has anything to do with Marxism. Is me choosing wet or dry toilet paper to wash my ass a dialectical Marxist analysis I should fucking engage in? I mean, I could, but it doesn't mean I should. I guess said more plainly, the greatest fucking contribution that the Dems ever put forwards was thanks to what revolutionary socialists did the world over, and simping for these fuckers now will bring nothing and very little to the left. And as such, quite honestly, it is none of our fucking business except for entertainment. It makes for really good entertainment, I must admit that.
Yeah, that's the one thing I will say. Trump is really fucking funny in like the worst possible way. He's just really fucking funny. You gotta give it. He's got zingers. He's so ridiculous. He's just funny.
Biden is even funnier, motherfucker. He says he wants legs and he wants to see them play with his goddamn what do you call it? Fucking leg hair. It's this guy where I live, they would literally break his fucking legs and they would fuck him in the fucking trailer park. Like people saying shit like that. And over there, a guy like that is fucking electable. Jesus Christ. Oh my God.
How the fuck? Nowhere else but in the United States would that be possible. I think it happened in the Philippines as well. I think Iran Duterte is fairly similar. And Bolsonaro in Brazil as well. It's the same kind of thing. Look, this is a thing. This is a real fucking thing, actually. This is happening like all over the fucking world. And we should... how? I don't know how we've gotten to this point, but that's another argument as well that people will often talk about as well. They'll talk about like the lesser evilism and how it sort of keeps pushing us down this path towards it's just got the Overton window's just going to keep on being shifted to the right if our options are between a right winger and a centre right winger, like there's not really that much difference between the two of them in all honesty. And even like someone like Obama, who was kind of presented as this very progressive figure. I mean, again, it was the administration under Obama was very much centre right. It's very difficult to argue that point, but so you have the option. You can go right wing or you can go slightly less right wing. And it's hard to fucking push back against that one. The people are right. There needs to be that external threat, like as you said before about how FDR and so on, and all these massive social programs came about, it was as a result of the threat from the east. You know, the spread of the red all across the world, and that's the same thing in Europe as well. You know, I mean, the NHS in the UK and all across Europe, they brought in these social democracies as a way of avoiding having like a kind of brain drain where the workers would go and just say, fuck it, why would we want to live in France or Germany or something when we could just go to the USSR, go to Soviet Russia and get like free healthcare and free education and all this great stuff, you know. And so you had these social democracies that were ushered in as a result of that. So there needs to be that sort of external threat and external pressure if you want to see any of those substantial changes.
Exactly.
So yeah. It's a fucking tricky one. It's a real fucking tricky one. What I will say is that before we go any further, we should say that people are probably far too caught up in the elections. You know, with one candidate, it's the trolley problem. You know, it's that fucking trolley problem. Both options are fucking terrible. Let's say you let 11 people die, get hit by a train, or you pull the lever, and you kill 10 people. You know, so it's that kind of thing. Do you want 11 people to die, but you can sort of wash your hands of it and pretend you're not guilty, or do you want to pull the lever and actively kill 10 people? So it's still going to be fucking terrible. But but then of course other people will push back on that and say actually this person is not great. And you know, like when we talk about like Biden and stuff like that, there's a lot of there's some serious problems with Biden. I mean, he's an alleged rapist. He presided over Obama's administration, which opened up the fucking ICE detention facilities, to the best of my knowledge anyway.
That was really pro-bombing the shit out of me when I was fucking 7 years old.
Exactly.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. It's
fuck Milosevic again. There's so many idiots that think when I say that the NATO bombing of Serbia was bad, they're like, oh, are you pro-Milosevic? You want genocide over Muslims? No, that was awful. But same like I don't want an invasion in Iraq because Saddam Hussein is doing fucked up shit. I don't want to be bombed because some leader I didn't choose when I was 7 years old, you know, did some shit and I'm getting uranium dropped on my fucking head.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I am pro the genocide against whatever nation. It means I am just a civilian. What the fuck do I have to do with any of this?
Yeah, ultimately this isn't really for a huge concern for socialists, because ultimately this isn't our terrain. Do you know what I mean? But
absolutely.
But that being said, people are concerned about it. A lot of people are very engaged when it comes to these issues. A lot of people are very interested. It might be an opportunity to say, what do you think that voting for Biden will do for you, will do for your community, will do for your people? Yeah. What do you think that they'll do for you? And then that might be an opportunity to actually talk to them, to engage with people and say, well, look, here's a better way of securing better rights. Here's a better way of securing, you know, decent healthcare. Here's a better way of securing whatever it is that you're concerned about. You know, here, look, we actually have a path for how we can get those things, and it's not through the ballot box. You know, that being said, there are maybe small things that can be done through electoral politics, and yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of contradictions here. Do you know what I mean? Like we're saying, oh no, this is we can't really apply a Marxist dialectics to this, but like I mean, really, this is a fucking dialectic. Like neither of us has this really like strong ending opinion on this. Like it's very much in flux.
There is this point. You shouldn't have. It shouldn't be that strong. It should be as strong as okay, somebody's gonna comment to the comment section and say, yo, I need to get my injections because I am dying from X disease, and under Biden they're gonna cost less, and under Trump they're gonna cost more. Great point. Absolutely. That is why I say for certain points
you should probably go Biden in that case.
But your specific vote, your specific pressing of the button shouldn't be something that makes you feel like you've done enough both for that person dying because he doesn't get the injection for a normal enough price or for free as it should be, nor should it feel like you're doing your class the service that you need to be giving your class. But I'm sorry for interrupting, but I would really like. Do you want to know who I would actually like to win?
Please.
I would actually, but both from a non-meme perspective, but from a meme perspective as well. I would unironically like Biden to win, And you know why it would be interesting to see this? Because the main excuse for why we need Democrats in the White House is because Trump is so bad, so so
Yeah.
horrible and so utterly incompetent. Trump is literally the excuse many have for the failing of the American empire. And if Biden is elected, they will no longer have this excuse.
That's a good
I
point. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
already
Yeah,
already
because
see so many. I can already see so many people moving
yeah,
further to the left and to the right under his presidency because of mass, as they call it, disillusionment. People say Trump is the accelerationist candidate. No, bro, it's Biden. It's definitely Biden. Under Biden, all the excuses for not going radical will go away. And unlike Obama before him, they won't have a relatively stable economy to fall back onto to cushion this previously mentioned disillusionment. So again, I genuinely, meme wise and non meme wise, actually think Biden is going to be the accelerationist choice, which honestly is hilarious because everybody's talking about how Trump could, oh my God, Trump for 4 years, look at how much he united the left in the United
yeah.
States, etc. But
That's a good.
that
Yeah,
peak,
that's great. That's a really good point.
that peaked. Everybody who can be radicalized because of counter Trumpism is already radicalized. Now we need the people that are hoping, when Trump goes away, things are going to go back to normal. When Trump goes away, things are going to go back to normal. And I want Trump to go away because they will realize things are never going to go back to normal because the profit rate falls. Okay, sorry, I had to do that. But because it can't go back to normal. I'm sorry, but it's game over. And the Hitler kaput for the U.S. in the next 100 years. Nobody's taking you motherfuckers seriously anymore, and that's why the working class of the United States should also not take the state of the United States serious. Not only the working class, but minorities and different indigenous groups, different groups that want to say, you know what, you're not giving me enough to stay fucking quiet, motherfucker.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's a really really good point. Actually, everybody in the chat is saying that that's fantastic point that you've made there, comrade. So fantastically
Oh,
articulated.
yes.
Great. Fair play to that. Was absolutely excellent. This is the point. As communists, as socialists, when you have the right wing in power, it's very easy to point to the center right, to the center, or to the center left, and say we just get them in, and then everything will be okay. Everything will be grand if you get Biden in. Everything will be grand if you get Obama in. Everything will be grand if you get Jeremy Corbyn in or Bernie in or something like that. No, it absolutely won't. We don't want social democracy. Social democracy is not enough. It's not sustainable. It relies on imperialism, the exploitation of the global south, the developing world, whatever fuck you want to call it. It's not sustainable. But once we get the social democracy in, once we get the social democrats in, then we can start to expose the bullshit. We can start to expose them. We can show it for what it really is and show it for the inconsistencies. We can expose the contradictions that are there to everybody. It becomes clear to people what the fuck is wrong with this. It becomes clear. It became clear to people when Obama was in office, right? It became clear to people that, wait a minute, having this progressive in office, if you look at the drone strikes that George Bush prior to Obama had progressed with. Actually, Obama oversaw 10 times more than George Bush. This terrible right winger. Now, of course, that has increased. Donald Trump is doing even more again than Obama, but it's up to us then to be the left of the left. It's up to us to expose people like Biden. It's up to us to expose the social democrats and everybody who's seen as these sort of progressive figures, And so
Exactly.
there's a lot to be said for it, and also there are a few points here that need to be drawn out as well about, for example, with Trump in power, you've seen this massive uprising recently. The Black Lives Matter protests have been incredible, really huge protests. They're not organized, and there are massive problems with that. But the thing is, people are getting mad. They're saying, "Fuck this! We need change." Right? We need to fucking get this done, right? Which is cool. Which is cool to see. So I can see how someone would go, okay, well, look, if we just get Trump in again, then this will continue, and we're going to continue to have the left wing is going to continue to build in response to this, okay, in response to this awful situation, having this right winger in power, and also. While this right winger is in power, the far right is getting empowered. Okay, all of these people on the far right are actually joining these white supremacist groups, and you're seeing these fucking vigilante fuckers going out and just shooting fucking black people and quote Antifa and stuff like that. Quote Antifa, like not actually Antifa, exactly Antifa or whatever the fuck. And so, actually, Donald Trump being in power has, in many ways, has actually empowered the far right. Not I wouldn't necessarily say that he's fascist. I mean, he may have some fascistic tendencies or whatever, but he's basically just capitalist. He's acting in the interests of capital and so on and so forth. But there actually are proper like white supremacists and people who are proper Nazis. I don't use that term lightly, but actual Nazis who are riding that wave, and they've grown in support since Donald Trump's come to power. So that is something to keep in mind. You could have fucking said that like when Hitler was getting elected. Like, oh, Hitler gets elected, be deadly. It's gonna be really good for the fucking left. It's gonna be really good for the communists. It fucking wasn't. It fucking wasn't when he got. Do you know what I mean? Like, so we should be realistic about this.
What happened when we got the Sotsdems into power in Germany? I mean, with all due respect, but
they fucking killed the communists.
The Freikorps was more than supported. Contrary to popular opinion, choices you think are good choices might end up hurting your life in the long run, and choices you think are bad choices might end up helping your life in the long run. There is no such dichotomy between exactly good and exactly bad choices. They don't exist. And as such, introducing the idea of should you vote or should you not as a black and white issue is not only non-Marxist, it is non-intellectual, and it is just, it's telling yourself when you wake up in the morning, I have no control over my life, but I get to go push this little button, wait in line, and then push this little button and vote for either blue or red. And then that is going to give you an excuse to sleep well for 4 years and feel like you did something. All due respect, motherfucker, you didn't do shit.
It's the illusion. It makes us feel like we're participating in politics. We chose to have Donald Trump before. We chose to get Obama in before that. I say we. Isn't that fucked up how people on the other side of the world are talking about US politics? It really shows you how fucking strong US hegemony is all over the world, that we all still feel like these fucking Egypts, like we're all living in America. That fucking Rammstein song, it comes to mind, Gonna be fucking very surprised and very disappointed to realize that, getting Trump in is not fucking making, getting Biden in is not gonna make that much of a fucking difference as it didn't with Obama when Obama came in. Things got a lot fucking worse, and we should never be too hopeful about these things. I feel like, to be honest, I feel like we've been mostly putting forward leading towards voting Biden, not exactly endorsing him, but sort of saying, well, it is the lesser of two evils, so ... That's kind of where we've been going so far. We should also say that we're going to talk a little bit later about better political actions and activities you could engage in that will be a lot more effective.
It is the lesser of two evils, but it is not the Marxist choice.
It's not.
Don't think about it that much. And I would even say, even if you're directly influenced by the fucking election, because going and pressing that button, again, it's not going to do that much. I mean, I know I grew up under parents that told me elections don't do that much. And then I went to a progressive fucking university and they told me, elections do much. And then now I completely what my parents were saying, they don't do much. It's like that meme where there are small brain and there's a more bigger brain and then there's a massive brain, like the one for George Orwell. George Orwell, like smallest brain is George Orwell was anti-socialist. Big brain, George Orwell was actually socialist. And massive brain, actually George Orwell was a snitch and anti-socialist.
Yeah, it's like the chair becomes the brain, and it becomes like this weird elephant thing, and you're like on top of it. It's fucking amazing. Yeah. This is it exactly. He was a massive anti-communist, and we shouldn't fucking shy away from pointing that out. Look up Orwell's list if you don't know what we're talking about. There, just go to Google there and type in.
That man could have been so many things, man.
What a piece of shit.
So disappointing.
Yeah, he could have.
So disappointing.
He could have been someone. He could have been something.
He really could.
But then he screwed over all our comrades. For really fucked up stuff as well. It wasn't even just like, here, this person's a communist. It was like just weird shit. I'm not sure if it was like, maybe it was like people
black. Oh, you want to have a black community in my London? Oh, fuck you, motherfucker.
Let me send your information to the British state. No.
Okay. Are you interested in MLM?
Are you interested in multi-level marketing? Yeah, we're dedicated, committed, principles, multi-level marketists on this channel here. So
if you buy 100 Das Capitals from me,
just listen, bro. I got it. This is great. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity, bro.
Oh Lord. That could be a new approach, how to properly, intensively and quickly spread the words of Marx through a multi-level marketing scheme, literally using the market against the market. It's actually quite brilliant when you think about it. I think we're onto something here.
Yeah, so you're going to use markets to bring about socialism. That's...
Okay, don't go there.
Dang stream.
And I'm sitting there and I'm saying to myself, okay, I went through 4 years of university. I only heard about Marx once in Intro to Politics, and now the second time I hear about it, it's a guy telling me that actually Marx is kind of not really progressive because he only talks about class. And I was like, what the fuck? And then I get out of college and I get into, the internet sphere of politics, and everybody's telling me how I was being indoctrinated in university to believe fucking... Marx wants us to fuck children, and I'm like, okay, Jesus fucking Christ.
That's the conclusion you get from recent Twitter discourse in massive quotation marks. For fuck's sake, Jesus fucking Christ.
Oh
Sorry, let's
and
leave
then
that.
A full circle, right? Yeah, full circle, and then I start seeing people call themselves Marxists, telling us, in communism we'll be able to fuck 15-year-olds. Jesus, like
what the fuck?
That moment when you realize that cultural Marxism actually exists? Question mark. Like, what the fuck?
I'm changing the title of this video to that right now.
Cultural Marxism actually exists. We want to fuck your sister. Oh Lord.
Someone's gonna just clip that little bit out there. That's gonna be
They can. I don't give a fuck.
Very cool. Yeah. Okay. So look, I'm gonna trust that you've dealt with the non-American response to the elections and so on and so forth. We should probably deal with the anti electoralism question before we move off to this, before we move on to more productive ways of organizing and engaging in politics. We should probably deal with this because there are a lot of people, particularly on the ultra lefts and ultra left circles, who will just say, just don't fucking engage in politics. It's a waste of time. Don't engage in the fucking trolley question. Just step away from it. Killing 10 people or killing 11 people. Who cares? You're fucking killing people. It's awful. Just don't fucking do it. Or likewise, people who have been affected by something, let's say that Joe Biden has done. Maybe they have they heard that Joe's been accused of rape, and so they're just saying, fuck that, I'm never ever going to vote for a rapist. And okay, fair enough. Yeah, that's fair. Marx-Leninist Maoists as well are really, really strong in this. They're just saying there's no fucking point in engaging in these elections. It's not going to do anything. It's not actually going to help us bring about socialism. So what the fuck are we doing here? Why are we wasting our time with this, and so on and so forth? So we should probably deal with this. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this question, and I know you do have some really good thoughts on the question. We talked a little bit about this on Twitter before, about the sort of the international implications of that, and so on and so forth, and how people will say that if the United States becomes a social democracy, you get free education, free healthcare, free all this good stuff. Where is that money going to come from? It's going to come from global south, the developing world, third world, so on and so forth. Imperialism is just going to plunder all these countries in the developing world, and so even the benefits you might get from someone like let's say Bernie Sanders or something like that, that's going to come at the expense of our comrades and brothers in the global south. So what are we going to do about that? Should we actually support even someone like Bernie Sanders or something like that? So I know you have some good thoughts on that. I'm going to let you jump in on that afterwards, but it is worth highlighting the subject of dogmatic revisionism. Okay, this is really important whenever we have these kinds of conversations, because a lot of ultra leftists are very young people. Young people who are really pumped up on testosterone a lot of the time, teenagers or people in their early 20s who are really, they just want to fucking pick up a gun and fucking just blast the bourgeoisie, just fucking shoot them, just pick up a fucking Kalashnikov or an AK-47 and just go shoot up the White House or something like that. And so they will look at themselves, they will sort of look at revolution and say what worked in China, what worked in the USSR, what worked in any country that's had a successful socialist revolution, and they will approach the conversation as though we're in China between the 1930s and the 1950s. They'll approach the conversation as though we're in the 1910s in Russia. They'll approach the conversation as though we're in many cases, Peru. In Peru, the Communist Party of Peru, so the Shining Path, PCPSL, and with Gonzalo and all that sort of thing. They'll approach it as though we're in those same conditions here, and in those conditions you had, for whatever criticisms you have in them, within those conditions you had revolutionary parties, you had revolutionary movements who could offer a kind of alternative to the bourgeois system that we were in. Right, there was a proper workers' party, or there was an organization who was actually properly engaging in counter-hegemonic action, and people had an alternative. You could just say, "Fuck it, I'm gonna join this party who are actually gonna shake things up, because I know that voting for such and such a person isn't gonna make that much difference. I'll get engaged in this party." Just ask yourselves, where you are right now. Is there a party who's offering a genuine alternative to the bourgeois electoral system? Okay, just ask, and if there is, get involved, inquire, be curious, learn about them. If there's a party who have declared a protracted people's war and you're actually ready to go to war with the US state, you've built up your own state, you've got your own police force, you've got your own army, you've got more than enough people to take on the bourgeois state, you're actually at the place where you can do that, then maybe at that point you can really seriously consider just boycotting the elections, because there's a viable alternative path. You can actually take on the state with where you're at, with the people you have. People, when you're in working class areas, people don't call up the police, they call up the fucking People's Protectorate Unit, the People's Army, or whatever it might be. It depends on where you are. In Ireland, it might be, I don't know. There are many different Republican groups who sort of act as, they're often called vigilantes, but they police a lot of areas. They'll deal with people who are exploiting people, pimps and so on and so forth, and they will get called.
And drug dealers, we should fucking say it. I remember we had a big fucking
on Twitter, yeah. Well, we should talk about the drug dealers thing, because that's also. It's a hugely misunderstood point. The way people in privileged Western countries, imperialist cores, deal with drugs, and the way drugs have affected colonized people all over the world, oppressed people all over the world, it's very, very different. If you're from a middle class family and you've grown up, you're white, you don't need to worry about it. You can smoke a joint, you can take your mushrooms, you can do a bit of coke on the weekend, and you're probably not going to have too much hassle. So why the fuck wouldn't you legalize drugs? It just makes sense. But if you're black and you're living in the US, or if you're someone who's in the 6 counties in the north of Ireland, or if you're someone who's there's
Or if
just so
you're in
many groups.
fucking Colombia and you get your fucking daughter's head cut off because unfortunately you saw a narco fucking drug trafficker put the coke in cop's car in order for it to be transported over the border into Mexico and afterwards into the United States, and that causes
Yeah.
you to get shot or get shot by paramilitaries that are literally funded by coke money. Then you should shut the fuck up and say, "Oh no, but I am pro drugs. I am absolutely fine with drugs. Consumption of narcotics is fine, and consumption of narcotics should
Yeah, the
be legalized."
individual, whatever. Who
Fully.
cares?
But the fact that so many reactionary, not only reactionary, but outright fucking fascist movements are funded by the drug trade should not only not be ignored, but should be very. Okay, I can't say this on YouTube, but
We'll get
very.
kicked off. We haven't gotten kicked off for talking about your balls, for talking about Bernie Sanders' balls, for talking about the dialectics of ballsack. We haven't gotten kicked off for that. So we're probably going to be okay, to be honest with you.
Wake up at 7 fucking a.m. You go to your local fucking restaurant to wash the dishes from the previous evening. Then you have to take your bicycle or your car, if God bless you have it, to go work at the docks for another 9-10 hours. Pay the fucking minimum wage. You woke up at 7 a.m. You get home at 9 p.m. You sit down and you have maximum 3 hours of free time before you have to fall asleep, because otherwise you're not going to have enough energy on the next day, if you don't get enough sleep, to do another 12 hours of fucking work. And you have a limited 3 hours to do whatever possible thing you can do to get your mind off of things. 3 hours is not enough to get your mind off of things without using a substance.
Yeah.
So you pour yourself a fucking whiskey, you pour yourself a vodka, or you light up a joint, or in horrible cases, you light up some fucking meth. You curl up some fucking H.
You prepare the fucking syringe, the fucking
amphetamines. You probably don't have money for coke.
And you probably don't have money for it.
You don't have money to go out. You don't have fucking money for anything. And you think your local dealer, I'm sorry, but I don't know enough dealers. If you think your local dealer doesn't know that you're literally a working class guy who cannot do shit to him, he will sell you the most garbage fucking product imaginable. It will be filled with chemicals pulled out of a fucking mouse's fucking rat's asshole just so he can fill up that fucking gram that he's giving you. And you're telling me that interacting with this, I'm gonna call him bourgeois drug dealer, or at least class.
Yes.
Even if
let's talk about that afterwards. Let's talk about the actual class dynamics afterwards. But keep going.
Let's call him a proletarian drug dealer, because let's say he makes his own drugs and he sells them. He doesn't have employees. He doesn't have, a petty bourgeois, which is not necessarily an enemy class, right?
No,
let's call him even that. But he is a class traitor even then, because what is he doing? He's actively fighting against the arm of the working class by literally injecting H into the arm of the working class. With all due respect to consumers of any sort of opiate, which I am a big one right now. You can fucking probably hear how my accent is getting thicker and thicker the more I pour a thicker and thicker vodka into the glass. But the guy that sells me the vodka is a fucking honest guy, and it's fucking analyzed and fucking proven that it is 40% alcohol and water, and depending on the price, it will give me higher or lower quality. But the local street guy selling you H, telling you everything, even weed, my friend, he wants to fuck you. And
back to this. Here we go, fucking you. Here we go. Back to the balls. Here we go.
And being fucked is a great thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I'm saying that when you don't want to be fucked,
if you haven't investigated, don't speak. Comrade Mao is going to be disappointed. All right.
Exactly. If you don't want to be fucked and you're getting fucked, it's literally rape. And dealers that are not investigated on and that do not sell a proper product for which their clients are informed on are class traitors and are counter-revolutionary, degenerate pieces of shit and should be treated as such. End of discussion from my point of view.
Yes. You know, I fucking agree. There's so many people, right? There's so many people. Look, if you're in a working class area, and I'm in Tallaght in Dublin. If anyone's from Ireland here, you'll know that Tallaght is one of the most impoverished working class areas in the country. Okay, it's a town on the outskirts of Dublin. We've massive problems with drugs and so on and so forth. Okay, so we do need to clarify. Let's go back to proper fucking Marxism. Okay, let's actually talk about Marxism here for a second. Drug dealers, people who deal drugs, especially let's look at like the middle management kind of people involved in like drug cartels and so on. First of all, people who were in like drug cartels, they're proper capitalists. They're proper bourgeoisie. They're fucking bordering on potentially like imperialism at that stage. They're actually forming international, transnational imperialist
for the revolutionary movement. That could one could argue that.
That's a more complicated one. Yeah, and it has happened. It has happened.
Yes.
There's a number actually in Peru. I think there's some organizations, not actually the PCP SL, but there's another organization I believe, and also I think maybe in there's a few countries, a few countries where it's happened. That is an important one. It's a slightly different situation there, but actually, they are bourgeois. These people are bourgeois, even though they're not operating within the realm of legality. They actually are bourgeois. Their relationship to the means of production is still the exploiter. They are still. If you look at the cycle of capital, okay, the basic cycle of capital, okay, there's a much more complicated one, but there's a very, very basic one that Marx gives in Capital Volume 1, where he says MCM prime, okay, so there's M, which is money, and then there's C, which is commodity, and then there's, next stage is M, money, prime, so money plus something, okay, so you've got your money, I've got 50 quid, I buy a commodity, whatever it might be, and then when I get my money back, the next stage of the circuit is that I've got a little bit more money, so I don't get 50 quid back, I get 55 quid, I get 60 quid back, okay, so I get a little bit more back. You can see this very clearly if you look at like buying a product and reselling it. You can see it very clearly if you buy a fucking apartment, you rent it out, you can buy it. That's the circuit of capital, okay? If I buy an apartment, I can sell it out and I can rent it out for all these years and I can make more money from it, okay? So I buy the commodity, that is the drug, that is whatever it might be, the property, whatever it might be. But when we come to the serious Marxist analysis, the commodity actually becomes labor power. It's the power of labor, okay? So that's where the money comes from. It's actually from labor is where we get the money. So that's when the circuit kind of gets more and more complicated. But just at a basic level though, people who sell drugs are capitalists. They actually are working along that sort of capitalist circuit, the MCM prime circuit that's described. I think it's probably in maybe chapter 4, chapter 5 of Capital, where he first kind of introduces this. But basically, you buy a product for 20 quid from the dealers. They give you, let's say there's a dealer and then there's someone who's like above them, and then there's like a middleman dealer, like just the average dealer on the street who's flogging things. Yeah, exactly. So they're sort of on the street corner and they're actually flogging us. Like they're the lowest level. Even those ones, they would be petty bourgeois. They would actually be petty bourgeois from a Marxist understanding. Even though we might say that they've transitioned. They've kind of bypassed proletariat. They've kind of gone from lumpen proletariat, the lowest strata of the proletariat, to petty bourgeois. They've skipped from lumpen prole to petty bourgeois. Okay, or the petty bourgeoisie, the lowest strata of the proletariat, or of the bourgeoisie, excuse me. And what they're doing is, so they have a little bit of money. Let's say they have some money. They have like 20 quids. They buy some drugs and then they want to flog them off. They want to sell them for 25 quid at the end. That's the goal, okay? They spend 25 quid and then at the end of this circuit, they're going to have 25 quid. And then from that 25 quid that they get, maybe €1 of that is going to go to them and €4 is going to go to their bosses, the next level up, okay? So they are still participating in this capitalist cycle. They are taking value from other people. They're still participating participating in that MCM circuit. And yeah, every single one of them is there, and you can go up the higher levels, and every single one of them is participating in that MCM circuit. Now, the normal proletarian, this is important. The normal proletarian is doesn't operate on the MCM circuit. They operate on the opposite circuit. They operate on the CMC circuit. Okay, they operate on commodity, money, commodity. Okay, what they do, what a normal proletarian does is we sell our labor, C, okay?
Yeah.
We sell our labor power, actually. We sell our labor power, we go to work, then we get some money, second circuit, M, we get some money, we get 10 quid an hour, 5 quid an hour, 20 quid an hour, whatever the fuck it is, wherever we are. And then we go back into the commodity circuit, we buy what we need. We pay for our bills, we pay our rent, we buy some food, whatever it might be. And the circuit that proletarians follow is CMC. That's it. That's what we do. We buy a product, we buy a commodity, but that's to consume. So we're back into the consumption cycle. Capitalists, people who are on the capitalist circuit, buy products to make more money from. They buy commodities to make more money from them. Okay? So proletarians, fundamentally different. Like the dialectic, you got to understand, like there's no contradiction amongst the proletarians. The contradiction is amongst the bourgeoisie, and actually between the proletarians and the bourgeoisie. You know, their interests are opposed to our interests. You know.
Yes.
I feel like I've just been going into some random theoretical rant, and probably people who've read Marx,
No, you haven't.
read Capital,
a very good point.
people who read Capital and who know what I'm talking about will be like, oh yeah, that makes total sense. But people who don't know what I'm talking about will be just like, what the fuck? What the fuck is he on about?
This little person, motherfucker, when she came to
Piece of shit.
when during the 90s war, when she came to
Scumbag.
visit certain NATO troops in Kosovo, she came, by plane, and she had interviews, she met with kids or whatever, and then she left. Then when she went back to the United States, she said that while landing, Serbian troops were openly firing on her. She got protection from the local militias and from US troops. She was driven to a safe spot, and afterwards they had to conduct everything in secrecy, and then she was pulled out, and then they found a video online where she literally, the plane lands, she gets out, people are waiting for her with cakes and candy and all, the traditional welcoming gifts. She didn't see a single fucking bullet. But this woman is such a manipulative, absolute, literal sociopath, with all due respect to all sociopaths in the world for comparing you to Hillary Clinton, that it's not even debatable. But I'm using Hillary Clinton as an example of many people were, saying, we should vote for Hillary because she might be better for foreign policy. And Trump was an absolute disaster for foreign policy. But again, let's use example number 2. If Hillary had to, for example, drop the rocket on the Iranian general, I don't know if you know about the situation.
Please tell us. Elaborate.
The U.S. drops a rocket on literally the biggest national hero of Iran. Iran says, holy shit, is this war? Iran then bombs U.S. bases. Yes, U.S. bases, but empty U.S. bases, and they kind of ended there. I'm pretty sure Hillary wouldn't have ended it there. Pretty sure.
She was a warhawk. Let's be honest.
She probably wouldn't have let it end there.